Round 16 of the MLR, just the 4 games with a bunch of teams on the bye week. A fair few players out with their national teams as well. But yeah, pretty interesting results. I've only watched one of the games, and that was the Giltinis against NOLA, which unfortunately I was already aware of the result, but it still made the game itself worth a bit of a watch. I've kind of looked at the highlights of the other 3 games as well. Interesting round, guys. You guys who've watched the games in full will have to let me know what else kind of went on. The first one with Seattle against San Diego. That was, again, I think I mentioned it last week. That would have been the big final a year ago, and yet it's 2 teams with kind of losing records this year, and that was a bit of a blowout starting with. I guess Seattle made the scoreline look a bit more respectable. I think it was like 24-0 at one point, but Seattle at least managed to kind of make it, as I said, a bit more respectable on the scoreboard. But it's another loss. Seemed like a beautiful day in San Diego, to be fair, but man, some of their errors were pretty costly. At one point, they had 2 yellow cards, so. Yeah, it's going to be hard to get a winning shift from that kind of performance. New England and New York, as opposed to the San Diego game, the weather seemed pretty bad. Kudos to all those fans who got out there for that game. It seemed to be a small but vocal crowd. Like a decent crowd, man. Like for that kind of weather, for sure. Passionate is the note that I wrote. Some pretty slick tries, though, despite the weather from what limited amount I've seen. Bodie Mwaka was putting through some grubbers, and the handling, although it was like a bar of soap at times, is what the commentators said. Yeah, they actually scored some pretty slick ones. New York did not. And boy, is that result very costly for them, because that opened up the door for NOLA with a potential unlikely win away at the Giltinis. So they're probably safe, but it still opened the door, and it's a game that maybe New York should be winning. The teams have got kind of similar records, so maybe not. It was bound to be a close one, but New England actually did it pretty easily in the end. So good win for them. They moved to 8-6-0. DC against Toronto. Toronto also without a heap of guys, but yeah, some pretty slick tries as well. Like a set play try from a line out, which was led to a dinking kick over the top. I think that was Tanana that got that try. At one point, it was 24-3, but the game finished 34 points to 28. So overall, pretty high scoring one, and again, pretty high on the entertainment value, I think you'd have to say. One of the tries was it Ferguson? Another one who got a really lucky bounce. He beat the DC guy. So a good comeback from Toronto in that one. They showed some class to come back after what's been apparently a pretty tough season for them. 5-10-0 for them. DC's record's pretty similar, 4-9-1. And then the game that I did watch, LA and NOLA. I think LA would have secured themselves a home playoffs berth if they got a win here, right? They got a better record than NOLA. NOLA's without some of their props who play in the American side, although the Giltinis are without a few guys as well. But NOLA, interestingly, wanted to go for points early. They missed a penalty. Pretty bad kick, I thought. It was all NOLA for like the first 10 minutes, but they didn't have any points to show for it. And then the Giltinis, first time down the other end, picked up points. That was a try to Dave Dennis, who just had to put the ball over from like, I guess, 2 inches after the ref had initially called the ball short. 19 minutes, there's a yellow card for Maya taking Vularica in the air after chasing a chip and regather. Kind of a hard one to pull out of, but that's just kind of the way it is officiated these days. NOLA on 21 minutes, not doing themselves any favors with a big old overthrow, gifting points to the Giltinis, so 14 points to 0, 7 points during the yellow card. But that being said, LA got their own yellow card on 25 minutes with a high tackle. Penalty in front, NOLA opted for it, and they missed it again. I was honestly shaking my head at that one. If I hadn't have known the result, I would have questioned their ability to actually get over the line in this one. But as I said, I knew the result, which kind of took away from it. I wrote that NOLA lineout was getting mangled because it was pretty bad. They weren't able to get their own ball. The overall lineup stats, I think, were just above 50%, 67 maybe. Yeah, eventually NOLA did manage to kick a 3-pointer after their, I think it was Duplessis won a penalty at the breakdown in the LA 22. So it's 14-3 at halftime. Interesting approach to go for the threes given the situation, but I guess when you want to stop the momentum shift, that's one way of doing it. Position territory was pretty close at halftime. NOLA had a big period of pressure in LA's half in the second half, and once again opted for 3 to make it 14-6. So kind of slowly chipping away. The commentary team was not happy about that choice, but on 54 minutes, NOLA got a much needed try. Tikosuva, he split off at the ruck. There was nobody behind the ruck for the Giltinis, so he didn't need a second invitation. 14 points to 13. That's starting to get game on. And then they actually went in the lead with another penalty right out in front, 16-14. So now is when I was starting to believe, although, again, I already knew the result, so of course I believed. LA took the points to go back in front on 60 minutes, which is, I guess, like that's how you know things are getting serious when, by all accounts, LA don't opt for 3 that many times, but they did to go back in front. NOLA, big defense, holds up in LA. An LA maul. No, they tackled a guy to create a maul, which was kind of big defensive turnover from a choke tackle. So commitment from the NOLA guys, but they did get yellow carded for a late shoulder on Matt Giddo, which was a pretty soft one. I feel like that's one that if it's not Matt Giddo that's getting hit, maybe it doesn't go for a yellow card, but the linesman saw it, and that's what he called. So NOLA down to 14 men. And LA opt for a penalty. So 20 points to 16. You got like 5 minutes left. You got a man down. It's not looking like good news for NOLA. But a fired up NOLA side got the try through Dirksen about 2 minutes later. The forwards had gone close. They spun it wide and he powered over. And man, those guys were acting like they won a trophy based on how pumped they were from that. And I don't blame them because they'd come back from the dead. 14-3 down at halftime. Man in the bin. Yeah, there's no way they should have been getting a result in this one. And in the scheme of things, with New York losing, that's a heck of a result. That means NOLA is in second. Them and New York are on the same points on the log, but with the, I guess it's the points difference separating them. NOLA is ahead, so they are in second, which is a playoff spot just behind ATL. LA is still first in the West with Utah on 51. LA is on 56. Now, the next round of games look to have a few interesting ones. New York's got Houston. So Houston are bottom of the West. So you'd think New York go ahead and get a victory there. But NOLA, who's their direct competitor, have got Seattle. And Seattle is only one spot above Houston. So in theory, both sides should be chasing big wins there. San Diego against DC, that's kind of a nothing match, I guess, in terms of the scheme of things, because San Diego can't do anything from here. But DC at bottom of the East will be looking to at least play for a bit of pride. The big one also would be the Gilgronis against the Giltinis. With the Gilgronis in third in the West and the Giltinis in first. Utah has got ATL. It's another big kind of top of the table clash. So if Utah can get one over ATL and then the Gilgronis can get one over the Giltinis, that could make life interesting or uncomfortable for the Giltinis. But anyway, and then New England have got Toronto as well, which I think in the scheme of things probably won't matter a heck of a lot. But yeah, good to have some MLR, folks. 4 games, definitely very manageable. And yeah, I had a bit of fun. I hope to watch a bit more. It can be a bit tricky with all the internationals on, but for a midweek one, for me, a bit of delayed stuff, I'll just have to try and avoid the spoilers. It's difficult, but anyway, those birds are having a ball. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts, especially you guys who watched the other games as well. And how do you think things are going to pan out for next week? Back to normal service for the Giltinis, or can you see another potential upset? Take care, guys. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.